It's fishing season for the Planet Express crew. They all take the ship out into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean for a relaxing day of fishing, and Bender ends up hooking the most massive fish any of them have ever seen. The day only gets stranger from there as the fish pulls the ship underwater down to the sea floor. As the engine is designed for space travel, not underwater travel, they stranded down there until the professor can alter it to work in these new conditions. Meanwhile, Bender, Dr. Zoidberg, and Fry, equipped with breathing and anti-pressure devices designed by the professor, go out into the water in search of food. It's there that Fry sees something incredible, a real live mermaid. But when they return to the ship and he tells of this, no one believes him. This drives Fry to go out again on his own in search of her, and soon he finds her, Umbrielle, a beautiful southern belle of the sea floor. As she shows him the wonders of the ocean, the pair quickly hit it off and the sparks begin to fly. The following morning, the professor finishes the alterations to the ship, but before they can leave, the rest of the crew discover Fry is missing and go out to find him, eventually tracking him down to the fabled lost city of Atlanta. Centuries ago, the city was airlifted out of Georgia and into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean in a bid to boost tourism, but it eventually sank under the weight of its own development. It was presumed lost forever, but it turns out the people of Atlanta managed to survive down there as they evolved into mermaids. Exploring the city is fun, but as the day draws to a close, the gang decides it's time to return home. Fry, however, tells them he intends to stay. He and Umbrielle are going steady, and he can build a fine life down in Atlanta. His friends are shocked, but they head back to the ship, bidding Fry farewell and good luck. Fry settles in to enjoy his new life, until he takes Umbrielle to bed and is horrified to learn that their differing biologies render the two of them sexually incompatible. Fry flees, rushing to reach the ship before it leaves, but finds he's too late. Thinking quickly, he grabs onto Bender's discarded fishing hook, the line of which is still attached to the ship, and is pulled back up to the surface where he is reunited with his friends. They welcome him back, and Fry understands that he belongs up on the surface, with them. It can be hard to find a place you can call home, and sometimes you may not even realize you're already there. Welcome to Space Podcast 3000, where the future is in the past.
The lost city of Atlanta.
Yeah.
You could tell this whole episode was based around that one pun.
Yeah, but it's a good pun, you know.
It's a good pun, and it's a good premise too. I mean, Southern mermaids. It works.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really nice subversion of expectations, which, I mean, that's sort of the core of all comedy, really. But yeah, like the entire back half of this episode is just American South stereotypes, but
yeah, pretty much.
With an episode titled The Deep South, what would you expect?
It's deep and it's in the South.
Well, I mean, even the South itself is sometimes called the Deep South when you get far enough in there.
But this is the Deep South.
I'm reminded of that line from the movie Sweet Home Alabama where she goes, "You should need a passport to come down here."
This case, it's a mandatory fishing license.
God, I love that joke. It makes no sense. Like, why would that exist?
It's a fishing license, and it's mandatory.
Yeah, why would it be mandatory? Why would mandatory fishing licenses exist?
Because bureaucracy.
Maybe it's kind of like the job chip.
I mean, it's an excuse to get them out fishing. And honestly, even the fishing scene is great. Like, you know, as soon as Bender learns they're in international waters, he calls someone in to do a crime. Like,
guess what? Your accessories too.
So yeah, what do you guys think? What crime did Bender commit?
Probably drugs.
Probably smuggling.
Yeah, he was given a bag, so probably smuggling something. And yeah, knowing Bender, probably drugs, but that's kind of an obvious, boring answer. So what more interesting things can we think of for him to be smuggling?
Pugs.
What?
Smuggling pugs?
Pugs, yes, that's good.
Illegal dogs, yeah.
Yes, no. Gravity Falls reference.
Mm-hmm.
Smuggling pugs over the border.
Oh, Kinder eggs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Kinder eggs. Can't believe they're still illegal 1,000 years from now.
What else?
No, he's smuggling Kinder Joy.
Oh. What else could Bender be smuggling? Ivory? No, that's less funny and more
Sad.
depressing.
He's smuggling artificial ivory.
Now that's better.
That's good, yes. Bootleg Stradivarius violins.
Bootleg purses.
Fake gator leather. Let's get Daphne Blake to track that down because of the Scooby Doo.
He's smuggling Futurama merchandise.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Let's go with that.
That is a good Scooby-Doo adaptation, though.
It is.
No, he would be smuggling Star Trek merchandise.
Yes. Okay.
Star Trek is illegal in the future.
Perfect. Yeah, and I would not put that past Bender to be doing. God, so many good jokes in this episode. Like Bender aiming his, I guess rocket-propelled fishing line at Fry's ass, and Fry just cries, "Ow, my small intestine!" It's kind of a subtle joke, but so the butt leads into the large intestine.
Yeah, so it went all the way up.
That's some good aim.
Yeah, to reach a small intestine, it had to have gone in really deep. And the average human large intestine is approximately 5 feet long.
So it went through his pants and 5 feet in, around all the curves, and then he can feel the small intestine getting down. He specifically knows it's the small intestine.
And that's why it's a good joke. It's just so absurd.
Specific.
I like the technicals of this episode. I like all the different creative ways they use of breathing underwater.
Yeah, They come up with some clever stuff.
Putting oxygen into a black trash bag and then drinking out of it with a swirly straw. And
then, the professor's anti-pressure pills. Why is the professor so fixated on suppositories this episode?
Probably just gross, creepy old dude joke.
He wants them to feel as awkward as he always feels. He probably has to take suppositories in his age.
Maybe. I also really love the joke of Leela's catch. She's like, it's 20 times heavier than a boot, and then it just pulls up this crate with 10 pairs of boots in it.
Yeah.
It's such an obvious joke. And just Amy spitting pure venom. It's like, oh, so that's where you do all your shopping. And just dead fucking silence as they're like, grr.
Yeah.
If looks could kill, Amy would be sleeping with the fishes.
Do you actually know the difference between a parasol and an umbrella?
Yeah. Parasols are typically intended for the sun.
Yeah.
And aren't always waterproof.
Exactly. A parasol is intended for the sun, and an umbrella is specifically intended for rain. So parasols tend to be more decorative since they're just trying to block light, but whereas umbrellas are more hardy, they have to hold up to the rain.
Yep. Well, generally speaking, you can also get shitty umbrellas.
Of course, yeah, but
though it's usually less the umbrella part, it's the structure, the metal structure underneath that can be shitty.
Yeah. And I was once out in the rain with winds so powerful that it literally pulled my umbrella inside out.
ugh.
I have been in that situation too. Oh, it sucked walking across campus. I practically walked into class soaked.
Well, I mean, I ducked under a quick shelter and just pushed it back the way it should be. Made sure to hold it towards the wind after that so that it wouldn't get pulled.
Yes, but I had to make it to class.
Yeah, fair.
Did you only have 8 minutes between them?
So, one of the things that just killed me in this episode is as the ship is just getting pulled underwater and it's flooding, and then Fry flushing the toilet somehow drains it. How?
It's comedy writers just coming up with anything that's remotely plausible just for the joke. Which I like the fact that he doesn't even realize what he did. I need to use the bathroom now.
For all we know, maybe it wasn't the toilet flushing. We just assume it because it's set up like that.
Fair.
Well, if it wasn't the toilet flushing, then what was it?
Hmm.
Well, yeah, you are overlooking the other incredibly good joke in this. It's we're under 150 atmospheres of pressure. Like, well, how many atmospheres can the spaceship withstand? Well, it's a spaceship, so between 0 and 1.
Yes.
But then that brings up the, what planet was it that they had to carry the pillows on?
I don't remember the name of it, but I do remember the scene. Go on.
Yeah, because that's a couple atmospheres right there.
True.
So it has to handle the atmospheres of, heavy planets.
Well, they did clearly get through it. They did survive, but then they
Yeah.
convert it to use a fishtail as propulsion. And they present it like there's this big reveal of like what he did to the...
I mean, hey, if it looks stupid but it works, it's not stupid.
Not bad for using paper mache.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's paper mache. It has to dry. It's in water. That's even more questionable than Zoidberg's house burning down.
Oh god, Zoidberg's house burning down, and then they're just like, how did this happen? It's like, that's where I left my cigar. That just raises further questions.
Whoever wrote this clearly has no understanding of the limitations of life underwater.
Yes, I was going to bring up that exact SpongeBob joke.
I never saw SpongeBob, but I feel like I missed out on something magical from a lot of the memes.
TZ, if we ever get through to the end of Futurama, we'll have to do another podcast where we show you SpongeBob.
That's so... That is such a weird one. I mean, I watched My Little Pony, so I guess it's the next logical step.
Just the first 3 seasons in the movie, though.
I mean, I marathoned through the early seasons of SpongeBob for the first time in years a few months ago, and it holds up surprisingly well, at least the first couple seasons.
Yeah, that's why I said first 3 seasons in movie, because that's what Steven Hillenburg was on for. He did come back later on again until his death, but still.
Yeah, I've heard it got better again once he came back, and then he died, so that's unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
I believe he was a marine biologist before he went into...
Yes, he was, so there are some scientifically accurate jokes.
Yep. We're kind of... Why are we talking about a completely different show?
Because we're under the sea, baby. It's better down where it's wetter.
So we should probably talk about Umbrielle.
I like Umbrielle.
She's nice. I was sad we didn't get a little bit more from her, though.
Yeah, I would like to see more out of the character.
But, she and Fry really are 2 peas in the pod, by which I mean they're both complete idiots.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think that's just kind of the Southern Belle stereotype. The dumb blonde. Dumb Southern blonde.
Although the name of her joke is surprisingly subtle, because, I think the connection there is Umbriel and Ariel were both characters in Alexander Pope's The Rape of the Lock. So there might just be through that the connection with Ariel, the Little Mermaid. At least I assume that's where her name came from, but if so, that is
possibly
an extremely obscure
That's a deep
joke.
cut, yeah.
Yeah.
But even without that exact comparison, it sounds like Ariel. That in and of itself is fine on the surface.
Yeah, it works on multiple levels. Like, if they named her after a different character from The Rape of the Lock, we might have had a problem, but... did either of you notice the background gag of CNN?
Yeah, CNN. Yeah, I had that in my notes.
Great. And then the parody of Donovan's song Atlantis, complete with the gods of our legends: Ted Turner, Hank Aaron, Jeff Foxworthy, Jane Fonda, the guy who invented Coca-Cola. You mean John Pemberton? And then there's the punchline of The Magician, which is probably a reference to the original song, which lists the gods as, I think, I might be remembering incorrectly, but I think it was the poet, doctor, scientist, farmer, and magician.
Well, if that's mentioned in the song, then yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a direct reference to that.
Yeah, and then of course Leela's confused by the magician, but to be fair, so was I for the longest time after seeing this episode, because I wasn't familiar with Donovan.
I do like the fact that it kind of old Atlanta, that old Atlanta kind of has this mythical aspect to it. that like Fry knows what it actually was. But then, of course, there's like the people that there's what people perceive Atlanta to be from outside, and of course what people know Atlanta to be from inside, and so you have that disconnect. And then of course you have the people in the future, what they think Atlanta used to be, told by the people that used to live there. So there's like all kinds of different it's like telephone for people who are trying to build something up or tear it down.
Yeah, it's weird though that it's treated as a myth rather than just a historical thing, even though it would have only been like a couple centuries ago.
Maybe they just assumed it all disappeared, and the myth is that it's still alive.
Yeah, that it's still alive and functioning.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, like, the back half of this episode is just wall-to-wall American South stereotypes, and some of the jokes are funny, but it's just, we're just deriving all of the humor from stereotypes, and that's something I tend to be a bit lukewarm on at best.
Especially with the strong first half, you know, it feels like a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, they probably could have balanced it out with a bit more undersea jokes. Because I feel like there's a lot you could do with that joke. Because they have like the one like big punchline at the end with him trying to breed with her, which is a good. You get the good smash cut to him just leaving this. I gotta get the hell out of here.
Poor Umbriel.
Yeah, but of course, like that always raises the question. Because that's like a really common fantasy with a lot of people. Is like the mermaid. Like, okay, how exactly do you do it? And I'm like. They have no good answer for it.
Yeah. I imagine, like, mermaids would actually be closer to whales and dolphins if they really existed.
Maybe. Although you do also see in, like, some depictions, mermaids, like, their tail turns into legs when they're on land.
Yeah, that's true. Or they are like in the movie Splash.
Yeah. Like, that's a good example of exactly what I'm referring to.
And then there's the more fish people who they do act like fish. Like Zora probably are like that.
Yeah.
So, Teasy, you pointed out Fry apparently not being able to visit Zoidberg because he wants to join a country club, and you suggested it might be an anti-Semitism reference.
Yeah, or that they either directly anti-Semitism or it's just because he's a crab, which, again, is just overt racism, which is absolutely a thing in the South. To be fair, it's a thing everywhere, but yeah.
Yeah, well, while we were watching the episode, you remember you suggested anti-Semitism, and thinking over it over the last few minutes, yeah, you might be right there. Like, that would definitely track with Zoidberg's general being very Jewish-coded, and yeah, like the whole South. And I think I remember reading that, like, Jews generally were not allowed in country clubs until, like, the 60s.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would make sense. A bit of an uncomfortable joke.
So it works on that level, but it also works in the fact that they just don't like Zoidberg, which is...
Poor Zoidberg.
Again, maybe kind of veiled anti-Semitism every time they say they don't like Zoidberg. It's like, okay, you kind of have to read out of the context of that one. Again, that's probably reading a bit too much into it, because you gotta have someone that all the characters dump on.
Yeah, and I do feel the need to stress that, like, not everyone in the South is racist. In fact, there's a lot of really good people down there. There's a lot of minorities living down there as well. But there's also just, like, lots of really good people fighting hard to change it. It's just gerrymandered to shit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, gerrymandering is the biggest reason why it is perceived as the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I love how we kind of end the episode with the brick joke of Hermes' sandwich.
Sandwiches are good, man. Like, dude, or whatever person, my dudes, people.
What is a manwich?
You can call people a dude. I mean, a dude is a fairly gender-neutral term. I've said it to a plant.
I'm just not completely sure what everyone's comfortable with.
It's fine. Like, what is a manwich, though? I have literally never heard the word manwich outside of this episode.
You've never had one?
No.
It's kind of branded. It's kind of branded. It's
it is. But Sloppy Joes, do you know what Sloppy Joes are?
Yes.
It's pretty much the same thing, just manwiches are typically a pre-made canned mix that
it's a canned mix that you make it into a sandwich.
I see. Honestly, I'd rather just make the meat myself.
understandable, but it's like it's easier. You just open a can and there you go.
I mean, I guess, but like canned meat? Ugh.
Oh no, it's not typically the meat that's canned. It's just the sauce, and you add it to ground beef.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's less objectionable. Yeah, I'd never heard of that brand.
But yeah, is it owned by Campbell's? It might be. Oh, Hunt's. It's owned by Hunt's, which is the ketchup company.
Yeah, that makes sense. They make that, so they might obviously would make sauce.
I find it funny that, it's still not a record catch because of Fry, the Manwich, Zoidberg. It would be funny if it was just by the Manwich's weight, though.
That would have been funny, but it makes more sense with Fry, considering that, a person will weigh, like, over 100 pounds.
Yeah, but if it was just
yeah.
the Manwich, that means he's, like, only, like, 1 pound over the record.
I mean, it still counts.
Yeah.
And the fact that Bender is so up in arms about $1,000, which, I mean, is certainly not a small amount, but I think he made more than that on him smuggling illegal Star Trek merchandise.
Probably.
But it's money, and Bender wants money, even if it's just a little bit.
I'd trade it all for a little more.
So, overall, despite the relative weakness of the back half of the episode, this episode as a whole is just extremely well paced, has some fantastic jokes, and, I rather like it.
Oh yeah, I like this one a lot too.
It's a good episode.
Mm-hmm. But I still wish, the back half could have been better.
Yeah. I should probably check my flight information for Thanksgiving. I think my stopover is in Atlanta.
That took too long. How come we had to transfer to Atlanta twice? Thank you for listening to Space Podcast 3000. Your 3 voices of the future are Nova Altman, Doug Hancock, and Eden Valerie. The theme music is Voxel Revolution by Kevin MacLeod. You can hear more episodes of Space Podcast 3000 on YouTube or at soundcloud.com/spacepod3k. You can support the show and listen to new episodes a full week early at patreon.com/spacepod3k. Follow us on Twitter at spacepod3k. Be sure to join us next time as the Planet Express crew runs afoul of the Mafia in Bender Gets Made.